I spend too many of my days contemplating my career even though I don't want a career. I don't want to build a resume in order to fulfill someone else's requirements for a job. I don't want to make a strategic plan for the next 10 years of my life. I don't want to hustle. I don't want to have to predict which jobs are resistant to the rise of AI and act as if that's normal. I don't want to go $60,000 into debt for a master's degree in the hopes of expanding my career options. I don't want to work at a bike shop or low-wage jobs forever, but I also don't want to become glued to a computer, a bureaucrat, and a broken system which destroys the planet so a small percentage of the world can be rich. I don't want a career, yet I live in a world and a community where careers are necessary. I have been reading the book As We Have Always Done, Indigenous Freedom Through Radical Resistance by Leanne Bedasimosaki Simpson, and have been better able to articulate why I feel so strongly anti-career. In her book, she mentions how indigenous societies, her people specifically, the Anishinaabe, were based on a network of relationships. Relationships between people, between spirits, between the plants and the animals and the weather and the community members who have passed. Children were encouraged to find their place in society. They were given the space to trust their intuition and lean into it. That the society around them would cherish their talents and gifts and passions, trust that they worked towards the good of everyone, and nourish their truths. She tells a beautiful story of how a young two-spirit child watched the animals drink from the sap of a tree and decided to mimic them and taste that sap as well. In that story, the kid tells their parent, and that parent trusts in the child's story. The parent learns about the sap from the tree, and the two of them tell the entire community. The community heard and believed them, and when the parent and child went to show them how to drink the sweet liquid from the tree, it did not work initially. The community's trust did not waver, and eventually the sap flow did work, and they all enjoyed drinking from it and learning how to boil it and turn it into syrup and sugar. It is such a simple story, yet brings to light the beauty of human relationships. How the kid learned from the animals, how they were in awe of a tree which delivered their sap, how they were all able to learn from a young queer member of the community, how all of them trusted each other and learned from one another. In this book, Leanne mentions how queer isn't entirely relevant to her community's history because queer suggests that there is a normal that we've been taught is the gender binary, the heteropatriarchy, and the hierarchy of relationships and gender which puts cisgender, straight, monogamous white men at the top and everyone else below. What we know as queer was simply regular people living out their authentic lives in her Anishinaabe communities. It was normal to have a child grow up authentic to who they were without being forced to choose between the binary. Let's bring things back to my lack of desire to have a career. When I read more about indigenous societies, I rewire my brain and I'm better able to articulate feelings that lay deep inside me. The dissatisfaction whenever I contemplate what jobs I may want to have next, the anxiety when I attempt to predict what will garner me the greatest number of hedons synchronously with the greatest amount of wealth. I juggle all the things I want from life, and it all boils down to the inevitable job. Because our system, capitalism, is not one which demands or even supports that anyone reaches self-actualization as the Anishinaabe system does. Capitalism demands compliance, regardless of if it benefits or pleases the people on the planet. It demands compliance so that a select few are able to acquire vast amounts of capital at the expense of everyone and everything else. I remember judging my childhood best friend when they first told me they didn't want to work. I thought of them as lazy, selfish, lacking ambition, disappointing. I was quick to disagree with them about not wanting a job because how can you say such a thing when it's an indisputable reality we all have? I realize now, 10 years later, how right they were about not wanting a job. I do not dream of labor, but I do dream of relationships. In some relationships, I cook for another, or I clean their dishes when they need my help. For others, I share with them my wisdom when they need some guidance in life. I teach people how to lift weights or encourage them to bike a little further each time to help them overcome whatever mental barriers may be stopping them. I advocate for keeping my neighborhood clean and safe. For some people, I educate them on history, entertain them with stories. For others, I listen to their wisdom and aid them in whatever missions they want to accomplish. As Leanne Simpson said, and while each individual must have the skills and knowledge to ensure their own safety, survival, and prosperity in both the physical and spiritual realm, their existence is ultimately dependent upon intimate relationships of reciprocity, humility, honesty, and respect with all elements of creation, including plants and animals. Life is full of purposeful relationship. That is what keeps society going, not jobs. So I ponder what career I can take which feels the least like a career but still grants me financial health. Because, let's be honest, living paycheck to paycheck is not fun. I've considered grad school in Europe. I've considered still attempting to create a successful small business. I've seen business coaches and ghosted them months later. I've juggled half a dozen jobs in a year because I get bored and I don't want to ever feel locked into something that I hate. There are a myriad of ways for me to attempt to escape capitalism while living within it, but none of them will ever truly get me out of this trap. I want a magical way out of things. I want to inherit money and buy a house and then work a part-time job while I'm here and my girlfriend and I pay off the mortgage, and when I travel I can rent out my home to others so that the mortgage can continue to be paid off so I can live frugally and explore the world. I'd love to be able to create non-market housing to help other people and just give myself enough money to live because I really don't need all that much stuff. I don't want that much stuff. Realistically, I need a home base, and that's why I dream of having some magical wad of money hit my bank account so I can get a home. My mind cannot grapple not having one, and I do not care for those who think it's easy and simple to just sell all of your life possessions and travel indefinitely, living place to place ephemerally. I need a home base for my sanity, but I also need to be able to leave that home base and see as much of the world as I can. I just want to win the life lottery for once, the financial life lottery. I want a magical way out of things because no matter how hard I work in order to obtain my dreams, there is no guarantee I'll ever acquire them, and my labor will always benefit the capitalist model no matter what I do. I had my first job when I was 12 or 13. I can't say for sure, but I think it was the summer after 6th grade when I worked at a jump rope summer camp teaching other kids how to do all the tricks I'd been practicing for as long as I could remember. I worked every summer break starting in middle school. Then I worked summer and winter break because I liked being able to buy things for myself since I already understood my parents' difficult financial circumstances at such a young age. Then I became a soccer referee and worked on the weekends during the school year. I became a lifeguard and worked year-round. I've worked since I was a little girl, and it was all because my father did not hold up to the expectations of parenthood, which is for any parent regardless of gender, which is to provide and to support your family. I was raised mostly by a single mother, my childhood autonomy stripped away to the single income household of what was supposed to be a typical happy middle class dual income family. I don't want a career because I've realized life is more valuable than what you contribute to capitalism. It's what you contribute to your community, to the relationships that you nurture. Life will always require work and responsibility, but it doesn't inherently require jobs. I don't want a career because capitalism is the business plan of colonization, which seeks to leech out any amount of profit from anyone, first going after those who are of a different skin color and languages, until the beast self-cannibalizes itself into oblivion. I sit here wondering how I intend to make money and make my dreams come true, while dreaming of holding freedom in my very hands. Because capitalism has never been and never will be equivalent to freedom.